Hello, everyone. Welcome to the State College Area School District website training. My name is Nabil Mark. For those of you who don't know, I work in the communications office here in the school district, and part of my job is to help people learn and use the website and how to get your websites up and running and all things associated along that line. So today, I know that we have different people in here that have all different levels of interest and use of the websites. So this training is going to sort of entail everything. We're going to start from how to sign in and go all the way through to doing some more complicated things like embedding, embed code, and stuff like that. So let's get started. So the first thing you would do is you would go to our website, go to the home page, and at the very top you will see this staff sign-in button. And you press that button, and you enter your user ID and your password just like you would with your email. And then you'll notice that now it doesn't say staff sign-in anymore, it says account. And that's because you're logged in, and that gives you some different features on the website that you wouldn't see had you not signed in. And I will show you what that is in a little bit. So the first thing you do, you go under account and you will see Site Manager, and you click that and a new window will open, and this is our Site Manager. And this is what most of you would see. A lot of you have different levels of access. Most teachers, unless you're managing a club or something like that, you would just have access to your own personal teacher page. So it might not be nearly as complicated as what you see on mine. Because I have access to all the different schools and all the different sections. So hopefully yours will be a little bit simpler, or at least just related to your school. So just to give you a little tutorial of what this looks like around in here. So this is kind of the landing page. The way our website is set up is when I click here, this is the school or the school district. These things down the side here are called our channels, and the channels correspond to our website, what's up across the top. Okay, so those are called channels. Underneath the channels, well, while I'm in this space, I'll show you, this is our home page, and these are called different regions. So on all the home pages of our websites, we have different regions. Up here is like a region, the announcements is another region. Over here, district news, upcoming events, and all the way down to site shortcuts. Those are all different regions on our website. And depending on who you are and what your job is and what you're doing, you're going to either have access to those things or not. So back into here, if you do want to get into the regions to edit them, you would click on your home. This is kind of the home button, or this up here is also your home button. And this is going to take you into the regions. We're not really going to mess with the regions very much here today because most people don't have access to that. And if you do, it's just like any other app that you would be using. So these are just the different regions, and you can put and paste these things in here just so you see that. So then under, I always like to use our communication section here to mess around with stuff on the website because nobody ever goes there. That was a joke. So if I go to our district, then the next level down is these are sections. So we have the channels up at the top, and then underneath these channels, we have sections. So I go to the communications, and I'm just kind of going back and forth so you can see. So now we're in here. These are all the different sections that you would have access to. And then if you go a step further, you'll have pages. And likewise here, so if I start here, these are the channels, this is our district, the section is communications, and then these are all the pages within that section. So most of you really just have a page or two in your own personal little section that you need to manage. And if you do have broader sense, it all really boils down to what is happening right here. So there's a lot of different things you can do or might want to do within your section. So we'll just start with, kind of creating a new page and how that works and move on from there. So when you're in a section, you see that you have pages here. So if you would like to edit a page that's already there, you just click on the page, and this window opens, and then there's a little pencil there, and you click that, and that takes you to where you would actually type in and edit something.
Can I ask a question about that while you're on it? For those of us who have pages before the overhaul, if you go back to one of the screens that you were just on, and you click on the editing button, and let's say you wanted to change the font or the size of the font. I have looked long and hard, and I can't seem to find where on that page you can actually change the size. If that makes any sense.
The size of the font is the little pen. It's no longer a number like 14, 16, 18, 22.
So
It's
you can
just
adjust
this.
it other than that.
Yes, that's the size. There are no longer any font choices. With the new websites, there is only one choice in the font.
So all the fonts are going to be exactly.
All the fonts are the exact same.
What
Yeah.
about spacing, Nabila?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
So one of the big changes with the old, they called it the classic workspace, which if you remember, the classic workspace up here had 3 lines, and there were some colors, and there was a lot of different options up there. Well, a lot of the things that were in there weren't necessarily mobile friendly. And so as we went through these transitions, it wasn't really my choice. They took away a lot of things. But ultimately, it was all designed to make things more intuitive and user-friendly and mobile-friendly. And I think from a personal standpoint, I would say that I think some people don't like that there aren't any font choices anymore, but like part of my vision and my drive with the district is to have uniformity and consistency across all the websites and all the pages. So people were doing sometimes a little bit of freaky things with different fonts and had a lot of stuff that really just kind of didn't make sense. So I think what happened is, like I said, even though it wasn't my choice, by having just one font choice, I think it makes it cleaner and smoother and more consistent across all of the sites. So from my standpoint, I think it's kind of good. But I could see how in some instances you would definitely want to use different fonts, but ultimately you cannot. Along that line, with all the conversions that have happened over the years, I mean, I'm coming across pages on our websites that I see were created in like 2003 and 2007 and really, really old, outdated stuff. And through the different migrations of the website, there's kind of like it's kind of like a catch-22, because everything has always carried through every migration. It looks the same exactly as it did before. The problem is editing it. So old pages that were created through different generations of our websites, if you go into those pages and you start trying to edit them, you're probably going to encounter some problems. Mainly with spacing. If you had any type of table in there and you want to go in and fix it, unless it's just like changing a date or a number or a name or something, if you're trying to manipulate those old things that have been converted multiple times at this point, it's probably not going to work. And I'll show you some tricks that might help with that, but ultimately, a lot of that stuff it's better to recreate it. After so many times of getting the code updated and stuff, it just ends up not working anymore. But mostly that's just with really old stuff or stuff that has a lot of formatting. When you see a lot of formatting, it causes problems. You know what I'm talking about?
We're the PTO people.
We're the PTO people have pages like that.
Yeah.
Page is awful.
Okay. So let's move on. So now you're in your space and you would like to make a page. So you click New Page and you get some choices and you have a blank box. It won't let you create a page without titling it. So you have to put a title in. So I just put test in there. And 99% of the time, what you guys are doing is you're going to be making a content page. So your default is pretty much almost always going to be a content page. And that's just a blank page that you can put on whatever you want. Text, words, photos, whatever you are choosing to do. This selection right here, content page, is going to be your go-to when you're creating a new page, unless you know specifically that you're not doing that. But you can always change it or add to it later, which I'll also show you. So I create my page, and one of the, pretty much the only, there's a lot of new features that come with it, but the only thing that's new about the new updated, they call it the new editing experience, is this window right here. And I'll go back just to show you that. So this looks exactly the same as it has for a couple years, but now with the new editing experience, when you go to edit a page, this window slides in from the right, and sometimes people are confused by that and shut down and like, uh-oh, this is different, I don't know what to do. But really, it doesn't, it's the same. As long as you just click the pencil, it's just gonna open your page and you can edit it right there. So from that standpoint, it's just that extra step, that window just appears, and it does give you a lot of options, which we'll go over, but that's the new editing experience. And like I said, all this stuff is designed to be more easy and user-friendly and intuitive. And along that line, before I forget, because this is the coolest, best thing about the new editing experience, let me just get out of here for a second. Once you log into the website on the home page or whatever page you're on and it says account and site manager, you can go to any page that you have access to on the website and this edit page button appears. So anywhere you are that you have access to and you see you want to edit this, you want to go there, you don't even need to go into Site Manager anymore. All you do is just hit this edit page button. It pops through all those steps and you're right there to edit your page. So that's probably the, I would say maybe the best thing about the new experience. So anywhere you are that you would have access to, if you don't have access to that section, it's not going to be there. But if I go to here, everywhere you see in this top right corner is this edit page button. And it would be on mine because I'm a site manager for the whole site. It's on every single page on the whole site for me. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a very nice feature. And when you click it, it just goes through all those steps without having to navigate through Site Manager to get there. You click the pencil, you're right there, you're doing what you need to do on that website. Okay, so back to our little communications section. So we made our page, and while I'm here, you guys know, because I just showed you that you can just click this and go in and start editing your page. If at some point you decided you wanted to rename your page, you would do that from this level under the actions. If you go here, you can look, you get some options here. You can edit your page, which does the same thing as just clicking it. You can hit page options, and here's where you would rename your page. If I didn't want to call this test, I wanted to call it test number 2. And I click save. That actually renames your page. Another thing that's nice if you're in here and you want to paste a link to your page or do something like that, there is this get link button. If you do that, that's going to give you a direct link to your particular page. So you can just copy that and paste it, and that will be a direct link that you could share with someone to get you to the page, that one particular page. But you could also always do that from up here just by simply copying the URL. So this right here, that's up here, the URL that you could copy to share with someone, you can also get by going to Actions, Get Link. You probably wouldn't use copy page or move page. If you can delete your page, you're like, oh, this page is just old and outdated, I'm just going to get rid of it. You just delete it and you hit yes, and then your page is gone. But then 3 weeks later, you were like, ah, I really wanted that page. There was some stuff on there that I wish I wouldn't have deleted. Crap. So you just go up here to this recycling bin, and your page is still there in the recycling bin. And you can see that I've done this training a lot, and I've made a lot of test pages. So I think this is the one, test number 2, right? Okay, so you hit restore, and yes, and then your page is back. When your page comes back, it wouldn't be appearing on the website because this green button is not clicked. So it says right there it's inactive. So that means your page is there and exists and all the information is there, but it wouldn't be showing up publicly on the website. And you simply just go over it and press it, and now it's active. So this gives you a good way if you are developing a page and trying to work on something behind the scenes, but you just don't want it to be public yet. You can go in and work and do everything, get it all set how you like it, and then when you're done, you just check that green box and it would be active on the website. Okay, any questions for that? Very good. All right, so now we're going to go in and we're going to start creating a page. So with this new editing experience, there's a lot of cool features in this where you land right here. And as we broke it down from the channels to the sections to the pages, well, on the pages now, there are these things called apps. And that's what they call them. I'm sure you're all familiar with the term app, but as far as Blackboard's concerned, and since I just said that too, Blackboard is Schoolwires. Schoolwires was bought by Blackboard, so a lot of people are just accustomed over the years to saying Schoolwires, but Blackboard is the proper term now. But if someone says Schoolwires, Blackboard is the same thing. So these are apps. And you have a lot of different choices of apps that you might want to put on your page, and we'll go through some examples of why you would want to do that or how you would do that. So for the first part, let's just start working on this app. And when I said content, this is a content app. Content page, content app, same thing. And if you look over here, content right here, that's what that is. And I'll show you why that's important in a minute. So we got a page and we want to add some text in there. So let's, let me grab one of my, some text out of. So we just did this whole story about kindergarten. No, that's not it. Where's our kindergarten? Okay, so we put this kindergarten thing up today. So I'm just going to copy this story. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to paste this in here. So you'll notice right away that there's some spacing issues, and there's not a whole lot that you can do about that. Sometimes when you, depending on where you're copying something from, you run into some spacing issues. And this was from a Google Doc, whether you're getting it from a Word doc or wherever you're getting it from, you might have to go in. And in this case, it's a pretty simple solution. It's just that these, so I'm just going in and putting the cursor there and deleting and just getting rid of these spaces. And you just might have to do that. Yes?
Rebuilding one of those old pages, can you copy and paste from that into the new page, or is it better just to retype it on?
You can try, but like I said earlier, if you're copying old content, then you're getting old content and just pasting it. See, like when you see all these words and stuff here, like it looks good to your eye, but really that's just like behind the scenes, that's all code, and it's a jumbled mess. And the more you copy and paste it and the more transitions it's gone through, then it becomes super, super complicated. So behind the scenes, I'll just show you real quick since we're talking about it. This is like what the computer sees behind the scenes. This is the code for this, and you see how long it is. It's much longer than what's appearing publicly. So you just run into problems when you're copying and paste. So it's a case-by-case basis, really. You could try it. If it works, great. And if it doesn't, then you might need to recreate it. But there are a couple of things, too, that I'll show you. So sometimes you have some spacing issues. Those are pretty easy to fix, usually, unless it's old. And then you might run into some, when you go to do what I was doing, just eliminate these spaces, it might start doing some wacky stuff, and it might change like the size of the font. When you start seeing issues like that, then you know what you're dealing with is just pretty problematic, and it might be better just to recreate it. Another solution that you can try is, if you look up here, there's this paste as text. So what that does is it eliminates some of the code that's coming in with the stuff that you've copied and you're going to paste. So if I just highlight all this and delete this, and I'm going to paste it in again, but this time I'm going to paste it in as plain text. So paste as text, I just press this button and it tells you now you're pasting as plain text, and you paste it in. But if you notice, like some of this stuff was highlighted, some of it was bold. There might have been embedded links or embedded email addresses in there. All that's gone now. It takes away all that code that was attached with it. So and in some cases, this might be good if you're having problems, and rather than having to recreate all of this content, it just kind of dumped all that code that was associated with it, and now all you would have to do is go fix some spacing and rebold stuff, insert some links. So this could be as an easier option for you if you're having to recreate something. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I have this page in here, and it looks fine. Just remember, as you're doing things, you can't just X out. You need to save your work. So always press save from time to time. Make sure, because if you X out, you'll lose that. And I don't believe, let me just make some changes. If I X out of that, yeah, it doesn't say, it didn't tell me, hey, you made changes, are you sure you want to X out? So just keep that in mind. So now I'm back in here. Okay, so as we were talking about up here, for the most part, this template style is it's a title and a subtitle, and the best thing to do is just go in here and just play with these and see what they do. This is going to make it like that. If I do this one down here, the subtitle, it made it italic. Personally, I don't use these template styles. I just use the font sizes and then bold italic. So you just can highlight. You can make it the largest. You can make it the smallest. That's where people typically look for the 9, 12, 14, 16, 18 point, and they just don't use that terminology. They just do small, smaller, normal, big. And I don't know why, but that's just how it is. These title and subheads, same thing. You can just play with them and see what they're going to do. I think that's messing with the spacing of them. And here's a big thing, and this is, for some of you, might be worth your time spent with me here today, is the new website template is double spacing everything by default, which is a little weird. If I can show you an example. Okay, so while this is single spaced, but if you notice here, it's double spaced in there. So for some reason, it's like double spacing everything, and I don't exactly know why, and I'm not crazy about it, but the way that you can fix that is if I have a double space here and I really don't want one, if you click in front of this line and you go back, these got a lot of format. I'm just going to delete these. Okay, so if I want to put these close together, if I go here and then I hit return, do you see how it's double spaced there? Well, there's a workaround for that. I just go back and then I hold shift and return, and it brings it just so it's in line, single spaced. But if you do not do that, let me show you one more time. If you don't do that and you just hit return, it's going to double space it like that.
What's the key?
Shift. You just shift return. So I'm going to back up, shift return. All right, so now we have a website here. It's looking pretty good. I'm just going to save it. And it's not as big an issue now because all the new content that's being created is pretty much going to be mobile friendly. But if you're working with old stuff, when you're in this workspace right here in the new editing experience, this little button up here is actually a little computer monitor and there's a phone behind it. So I'm working on this and I'm wondering, geez, well, this looks okay now, but how's it going to look out on the site? You can just click this and it pops open a desktop preview. So this is how it's going to look on your website. And you can go to the mobile view too, and it'll see how it'll look on a mobile phone. And once again, that's just right up here in this corner. And this is what I mean about the double spacing issue. So even though it just does that, unfortunately. All right, so I'm in this. I put my text in, and I want to, see, it's remembering that I used some of that formatting up there and going back to it, which is weird. All right, so I want to insert a photo. A lot of people want to do that. you have a page, you want to put a photo in there. So there's two different ways I could do that. So I will grab this photo. If you see, I'm using the photo button. It says insert image. And you don't really need to mess with the size initially. So you just browse and you find an image and you hit continue. Please, if you're uploading a photo to the website, when it gets to this point, alternative text is really important for compliant. What's the word?
Accessibility.
Yes. So you need to put something in here. It doesn't have to be a whole sentence or description. Like you could just put kindergarten. This is first grade, but or the person's name, the people in the photos. But it's really important that you don't leave that blank. Just some type of descriptor, word or two or three that tells what that photo is and is about. So you can change the size in here, but you don't really need to do that either. And you can make it default to the left or to the right. Default means it'll just be left. You can pick it to the right, and I'll show you why you would want to do that. So you put this photo in there, and it takes it here. That doesn't look really good, and honestly, the way the site manager works, just inserting photos like this isn't the best. Like, it's not the greatest. So what I typically do, but while you're here, you can grab this photo, you can make it bigger just by moving the box. What you can't do is go back and change the default to be on the right. So I see, that doesn't look very good because it's just bumping everything down. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to bring that photo back in the exact same way using the insert image. I don't know which one it was. And I hit continue, and I type this. And this time I'm going to pick right, and then I'm going to insert it. And so this is the best way that I've found to put a photo in. If you just pick default right, it's going to keep the text over here, and then the photo is going to be over on the right. And let me just save this, and we'll get out of here. And then you can see that just looks a little bit better than it was the initial way. Okay, so I have my page, and it's starting to look decent. I have text, I have a photo, but this is referencing something that I know I have a link for over here. It actually is talking about this story. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to copy this URL link up here, and this would apply to anything. And I want to insert a link to that other story in this page. So I'm just going to highlight what I want the link to be. Sometimes people say, like, click here. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to link to, you just highlight what you want the link to be. And up here, there's a little link. That makes it easy. Insert link. And here you can pick email address or web address. So we have a web address. So we paste that in there. Now, one thing that when you do paste that in there, the open new window or open same window. Just from a user-friendly standpoint, like I'm sure you've all encountered that you go to a website, you click on a link, and it just replaces the page you were on, and you're on a new site, and then you can't really get back to where you were, but you really just wanted to be back where you were, so you try the back button. But anyway, if you just select open new window, it kind of solves that. It just opens a new window, and your old window where you came from is still there. So I always default to open a new window. Then you insert your link, and you're good. Save. So now that's a link to the other website that you wanted it to link to. Okay? All right, so the other thing is too, I typically, like if you have a person's name, just from a user-friendly standpoint, if you put someone's name in there, someone might want to contact them, same thing. I highlight their name, I insert link, only this time it's an email address. And you just put in your email address. And insert link. And then, sorry. whoever goes there and you press that button, it's just going to automatically email them. Alrighty. Any questions about that stuff? All right, so our page is coming along and it looks pretty good. And I realized down here that I'm talking about a PDF. And I know I have a document that someone might want to view that I'm referencing down here. So not only can you insert a link, you can also insert a document. And that's also right here, it's insert file. So instead of inserting an image or inserting a link, you're going to insert a file. So you click that, and you browse and find a PDF. Actually, yeah. So you find a PDF, and you open that, and you hit continue. I would target the same thing. Open new window or open same window. I always select open new window. And then you hit insert file. So now when someone's out on your website and they come across that, it indicates that you can click it because it's underlined, and you get to that, and then that takes you to your PDF. Okay. So our page is,
A quick question.
Sure.
Does it have to be a PDF? Does it accept other formats?
it does accept other formats, and it doesn't tell you there, but with the next step, it'll tell you what they are. So we have this site, and it looks pretty good now. Most of you would never go beyond this. This is probably the extent of what you would need to be doing, but we'll just go a little bit further with some formatting and using the different apps. And I'm just going to, before I go further, I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut off a bunch of this just to make it easier. All right. So you see now my app is a lot smaller. So this is a content app. And there's all these other kinds of apps over here that you can use too. And the thing that makes them easy now is they're all just drag and drop. So you can have multiple apps on a page. So we're going to go through and see some examples of why you might want to do that, and maybe do some a little bit crazy stuff just so you can see how it works and what you might want to do. So we have a content app here, and we just had that PDF. So we had that PDF, but I really just want to embed that PDF on the page. I don't want it to be, I want that, and ultimately this could be just the page as your PDF. So you can insert the file where someone has to click on it to take it out, but you can also get that PDF directly on your page by using this cool little feature called a document viewer app. So like I said, it's all drag and drop. So I just grab that document viewer app and I move it over, and now it's there. And I can click the little green pencil, and all this is going to let me do is upload a document. And here's where it tells you what type of documents it will accept. I always use PDFs. PDFs always work. Everybody seems to like PDFs. They're pretty much universal. So if you have a choice, I would always pick PDF. So let's go back and take my PDF again. And let's insert that. And you hit save. And let's X out of there. So now I have two apps, and they're stacked on top of each other. And let's look at what this looks like. So I hit the little preview, and we have the pages that looked before. But now, here's how that document viewer looks. So instead of having to click on it to view it, it's actually just embedded on your page, and people can scroll and just read it, and there's no reason to leave your page. So from my standpoint, it's good because it just keeps people on the same page, and the less clicks, the better, right? But if they decide, oh, I do like this and I want to break this out, there is this little button to break it out, and you can print it, download it, do everything you would want from here. But if someone just wants to read what you have to say or what's in that PDF, then it's there too. So I really like this feature. We use this a lot. It's kind of a new feature, I think, over the last couple of years that a lot of people didn't know about, but I think as I tell people about it, they really like it and start to use it. It's a good feature that our website offers.
Nabil, what if you wanted to add like a little heading or like a little introduction to that PDF?
Sure. So that is one of the things that's a little bit unfortunate about it, is that it's just the PDF. There's nothing there. So if you did a let's just start fresh. It'll be easier. So we do a new page, and this is test 3. So remember I said that 99% of the time you're just going to pick content page here, right? Well, you know you're going to put a document up there. So we can select document viewer and just save and continue. And we're going to go open that, and we're going to go get that document again. And we'll insert it and save. So now we have a document viewer there, but as the question was, what is this document? It doesn't say anything, right? So all it is the document. So you want to put some type of header on it to explain what it is. So what you would do is kind of the reverse of what we just did previously. So now we want to put a header on it. So we go over here and we look for the content app because we know that's just a blank space that we can write stuff. And I just drag it over and put it on. And you can drag it underneath or on top, whichever you choose. And then you pick it and you just put the header. Tells what your PDF is. You can make it bold. You can make it really big and hit save. And then you go back and look at it. So now you have a description of what the PDF is with the PDF below it.
Is there some reason why you couldn't have just drug in the first one that you made, why you couldn't just drag in a header? Because there's a heading app.
Yeah, I don't.
Is there some reason why you shouldn't do that? Do it that way?
No, I don't even know what the heading app does.
It's basically, I think it's a title.
This one?
Yeah,
I've never used this one.
because I think it just did the same thing that you just did.
Let's just see what that does. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Only with like more limited options because it was really only giving you the title.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you can't change the sizes.
So yeah, I decided I didn't like that title. That wasn't working. What?
There's a drop down at the bottom that I think allows you to increase the size.
Oh yeah. Either way, feel free to play around with all this stuff. It's, you know, whatever works for you is fine. But I decided that after doing the 2 titles, I didn't like the first one. So the way you get rid of it is just hit the trash can up in the top right corner, and that one's gone. So let's go back to our first page. This is going to be a little bit better example for this, I think. So another thing that you might want to do is a lot of people, and especially teachers and people, do photo galleries, right? So a photo gallery now, it used to be as part of the page, but now it's just an app. And it's super simple. So I have my document on this page, I have a photo, I have my text, and I was at this event, and I have a bunch of pictures. So this is just my token example picture, and now I want to make a gallery. So there's a gallery app. You just grab that, and we'll put that above the document viewer. And so it's over there, and you click the green pencil, and you're in. Just that defaults to 600. That's fine. Just hit Let's Get Started, and you just follow the steps. You want to upload your photos. Let's go here. Man, there's a lot in there. Let's not select all of them. And the photos come in. I hit Upload. Tells you your progress right there. And we're done. So now we have our photos uploaded. Once they're uploaded, you can sort them by simply hitting the Sort Photos button. Let me just show you that one more time. So you can sort them by just dragging and dropping them. If you can't see them, you can make them bigger like this. So so I just move them around, whichever order you want, hit Save. The other thing you can do is edit them, give it a title. You can give it a caption. You can go as far as you want with as much detail, as much information as you would like. Then you save. And the most important thing is a photo gallery isn't going to show up unless you hit this Publish button. And I don't understand why it's not saved because everything else is saved, but it's not. So you have to hit Publish in order to get that to show up. So that's your last step in a photo gallery. So I hit Publish, and are you sure? Yes. So now I have my photo gallery. I have my page, my photo gallery, my document viewer. If we go and look at that, this is where it shows up as the photo gallery. So I have all these things on my page.
Maybe I can ask a question?
Sure.
So, is it best that you always go horizontal with pictures? Because if I have vertical ones, when I put them in a photo gallery, it like zooms way in or cuts them off. You can't see the whole picture. Is there a way to adjust to see?
In that photo gallery app, there is this adjust photo
Yeah, but
where you can rotate them and make them bigger or smaller.
so if
That's
it's
the
the
vertical
smallest
right
it
there.
is and it's still zoomed way in and you can't see the whole thing, there's nothing.
I'm not sure why it would do that, no. Have you messed with the adjust photo part?
Yeah.
There is, I did encounter,
I'm trying to remember to like keep further away because I know it zooms in when I put it in.
right, okay. So now that you're jogging my memory, if you take a photo with an iPhone or an Android, once again, there's code that's coming through with the photo. And if you shoot it vertical, even though like when it comes into your computer, it's showing up horizontal, sometimes it remembers it the original way. And the way that you work around that would be to open it up in some type of photo program, like whatever's on your computer, iPhoto, something like that, and resave it with like a different name at the aspect that you want, and that will fix it.
So just do a new save as,
Mhm.
and retitle it.
Yes,
And pull it from there.
yes. Open it in whatever photo program you're using on your computer and resave it, and then I think that will work. We're really digging deep here.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I really like adding the apps and having your page kind of just keep going down.
Mhm.
So is there any, like, what do you recommend? Do you think you should have a lot of pages or just one page with the apps added? I know it's preference. but-
Yeah, it really depends on what you do, but like just remember from a user standpoint, like people don't want to have to click around a bunch of pages. So I think an old way was to kind of separate everything out. But as long as it makes sense, like I know that like at one point the high school, for instance, had their teacher pages were separate in that they had, I think they had like the bio and a photo of the teacher, but then on another page they had their contact information. But that really, these days, just doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Because you just want all that on one page. Because you don't want to have to click around multiple pages to get to different stuff. So if it makes sense to have it all on one page, I would make it all on one page. But you don't want to have to, the other thing is if it's too long, you don't want to have to start scrolling. Because as soon as people start scrolling, then they don't. They don't. They don't have to scroll. So does that make sense? Okay. So let's go back to this page. And so we got a cool page. And we have a lot of stuff on it. Not sure why that keeps cutting out. Sorry. So the next thing that you can do is you can change the layout of your page. And this is going to look a little bit wacky because it's not necessarily what we would do. But for informational purposes only, you will see that you can play with your page. And so going back to where we were under our apps, you can click this layout over here. And you can change the layout of your page. So if into any of these regions that you would like to choose. So we have 3 apps on our page. So let's just, we'll start with this one. We just picked 3, and they're all drag and drop, just like before. So I drag this one in here. There, it changed colors. That's why you know it's going to go in. There, it turns green. All right, so now we have our 3 apps on our page. And if I hit this button, you'll see 2 of them, 3 of them. So it just lined them up like that. And one thing that you'll notice too, when you do this, when you go to the mobile-friendly version, all it does is it stacks them back again. So when you click mobile, you'll see it just stacks them. Okay. So, and it's really easy to play with too, like you can see. So I didn't like that. That looked terrible. So I take this, and now it's just 2. And I can move this over to here, and then I can just preview it again and see, oh yeah, that doesn't look good either. You know, and you can just play with it and put as many apps in this as you would like.
And this might be where you use those heading apps too, right? Like,
Sure. Well, and
the ones
if you go back, you can see, like, there's a divider app, and all that is a line. So if I move that divider app over in here, it's just going to separate these two things. So when I look at it, so see how the page is now, like there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 apps on the page, but you can't really tell, and one of them is just that line. I do find though that when the line may or not be good in that when you go out to your and actually view it on your page, when you use different apps, it does a pretty big buffer of space here. Do you see that, what I'm talking about? So it's a lot of times it's pretty obvious that it's separated. So the line, see how much space is in between the line and the top of the, to me that's just too much space. So I probably wouldn't go that route, but it's personal preference. It just gives you options, that's all. Okay, so what other apps in here might you want to use? Document, embed. Okay, so the last thing is somebody did a video of this event, this imaginary event that we were at, and it's up on YouTube, right? And so we want to, you can embed, and embedding is really popular. You can embed anything these days. Like you can embed on Twitter, a Twitter post or anything. Like, so embedding just means, embedding essentially is just like the document viewer app. It just puts it in your page instead of having click a link, right? Does that make sense? So you can get an embed code from a lot of different places. You can embed like someone's blog post. You could do anything that gives you that code. So let's go find that code. Let's go to YouTube. We'll just use YouTube as an example because we do use YouTube as a district. So this is the Coral Street Tour. Perfect. When you hit share in YouTube, you can get the link, which is fine. You could insert that link if you wanted the people to go out of your site. But if you want to keep them on your site and you want to just put that video in your site, you choose the embed code. And if you do this, this code comes up and you can copy it. And you go back in your page. And there's 2 ways that you can use embed code. One is with the embed code app, which is easy. You take your app, you drag it over. Let's go back to this format. You take your embed code app, you move it over, and you click the pencil, and this box pops up over there. And so you take that embed code that I got from YouTube, and I just paste it in here and hit save. And now, if you preview, you will see that that video is embedded on our site. And you can play it right there in the site, and it's not going to go anywhere, and it's not directing you anywhere else. So the one thing that I've started doing that I really like, and this is a little bit more complicated, but it's pretty easy if you just write it down. With embed codes, if I'm going back to where I got the embed code from, these numbers, the 560 by 315, that's how many pixels wide and deep the what your embedding is. So I've found that if you can just remember, if you go in and just take the first number, the width, and you delete that number, just those 3 numbers, and you put in 100%, and then you copy that. So if you remember, when we previewed this, it was forcing the video to be this size. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that embed code and change it to the 100% and save it. And now you see that it makes it fuller to your page. It just makes it responsive in that whatever device or computer it's on, it's going to fit it 100% of the width that it can be. So it just makes it look better. That first number, 100%.
You don't need to worry about height.
Well, you could. If you think this is too thin, you could increase the height.
Will it make us look
You
long and
wouldn't
skinny?
you wouldn't use the percent sign for the height, though. Well, there's another way you can do it. So I didn't want this video to be separate. I wanted some text, and then I wanted my video, and then I wanted some more text without having to have a content app, an embed code app, and then continue my text on, right? So let's just use this. Let me just get rid of this photo as an example. So we have this text here, and it breaks, and I want the video to be in here because I'm writing about the video, and then I want to embed the video in there, and then I want to continue on with the text. So all you have to do is right up here is this source code. And just remember, so I want to put it after the change question mark. So I click the source code, and this is the code for your page, and it's a little bit complicated, but if you look in there, I see the change question mark, and then that means space. So I'm going to click after that and paste that code there and hit OK. And so then that's what that did. It just embedded that video in between the text. Was that clear?
That's cool.
Yeah, and it plays on the page too, which is really nice.
What was it called, source code again?
Yeah, right here, the source code. Okay, so we did document viewer, photo galleries, embedding, sharing apps. Okay, so you are on a team with different teachers, much like a lot of you are, and sometimes you do things together, and you want to share content. Rather than just copying and pasting it, these apps are shareable. So if me and someone else on my team did something together and we both want them to be on our teacher pages, but we don't want to, you don't need to recreate it twice. You can share that app with someone and then they can just put it on their page. Now, the only stipulation to that is whoever created it and where it was initially is the only person that can edit it. So if I share an app to someone else, they can grab it, they can use it on their page, but they wouldn't be able to edit it. It can only be edited in its original location.
If you edit it, do you have to reshare it, or is it automatically?
I think it would automatically do it. So I'm here on this app. Let's make it less complicated. So let's just do this simple one. So I'm on here and here, and I have this, and this is the content app. You can change the name up here, and this might help you find it later. So when you go in here, I can say, Radio Park, third grade. That doesn't say third. So I'm going to share this with the entire Radio Park third grade team. So I go up here and I hit Set Viewers, and I assign a user. I would just type in their username, hit Search, their name would pop up, hit Select, and hit Add. So now I'm a user on this app, and you could add multiple people. Okay? So that person that you shared it with now has access to that app that you created. You guys following me? Good. So when that person goes to make a new page, and it's going to be test 4, D5, they could actually just select blank page because they're going to take a shared app and put it on that page. So by selecting blank page, it just means there's not going to be an app on the page you're creating. So let's just do that. So now there's nothing here. And as you know, we could drag and drop new apps in there, just like we've gone over. But down at the very bottom here hidden is this little use existing thing. So you just click the use existing, select the type of app that it was. I mean, it could be a photo gallery, it could be a content app, whichever. And you find it, you won't have so many like me. You would just have probably just that one that was shared with you, or a couple. And you just take it and put it over there on your page. And then it's there, and you're good. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's just a nice way for people to work together and not have to recreate things.
Nice, so like if the music teacher made a video about something,
Mhm.
she could share it with all of the third grade. if was third
It works
grade,
just like a
and then
Google
they
Doc,
put it on
really,
there.
you know? We all use Google Docs, so you just share it with someone and then they have access to it. But I don't,
And then it shows up on their webpage, right?
yeah, because it's an app. You're taking that whole app and putting it on your page, yes. So the last thing that a lot of people do is calendar stuff. And everybody, if you don't do calendar stuff, like there was a little bit of a change since I started. It used to be that one time a year, everybody would just send their events to somebody in their building, and then they would upload all those events at one time, and it would all go in this big document, and it would just be this crazy mess of a process. So we changed that process just to be more user-friendly. So if you go back to your home page, so now each school or department is just responsible for putting their own events on a calendar. So if you want something on a calendar, there should be a go-to person, either your supervisor or the person in your building that would put that event on the calendar for you. But if you are that person, you go back, hit home, go to, or here, either one, and back on the home page is this school district calendar app. And you go in and you can edit, and you can hit a new event, or you can edit an existing event. But the fields that you really would want to fill out, you need an event title. And the one thing that we do want moving forward is we pretty much want all the school's events or department events to be on the district calendar. So throughout our district, we have all these different websites, and those individual websites are great, and we want all the events on there, but we also want everything on the district calendar. That way there's a one-stop shop for anybody that doesn't think to go to their school site or whatever. If they go to the district homepage and click the calendar, they're going to get everything that's happening in that district on that day. And it's actually a really useful tool for the administration. Part of the reason why we've really been pushing this is like when we're sitting in that room and we're deciding, like, are we going to close school? Are we going to dismiss early? Like, what's going on in the district? And we found in the past, we didn't always know about all the things happening in the district. So by having everything in one place, it's really a useful tool for us in the administration, but also for parents and anyone that wants to know anything that's going on in the district.
So does that get sent to you?
Right, so here we go. So if it's a school, it starts at the school level. There's someone in each school, and you would just contact the office or the principal, and they would tell you who that person is. Who's responsible for putting events from that school on the calendar?
It's usually the secretary.
Yeah, for the most part. So if you are that person, the way you create a new event is, the reason I started with the part about putting it to the district calendar, well, one of the stipulations with that is when we have a bunch of events on the district calendar, the title, if it just says PTO meeting, well, that could be at any one of the buildings, right? So we just need to indicate in your event title where you are. And that's simply just by doing MNE, Mountain Indian Elementary PTO meeting, PTSO, or PTO, whatever you call it. So the first thing you would do in your event title would always be to indicate where you are, just with the abbreviation. You don't have to write out, say, College Area High School. Just the SCASD or SCAHS, whatever. Then you always want something in the description, even if it's just like, yeah, it's obvious it's a PTO meeting, always at least copy the event title and put it into the description. Because the way it displays, it needs to be in both places. So you pick your date. Sorry, that keeps going off. You pick your date, you pick your times, you pick a category. There's a list of categories that you can pick. They're all color coordinated, so once you know what this is a PTO event. Recurrence would be if it's like a 3-day event or something, you could use the recurrence it would be for 3 days. If it was a conference or something you were putting on the calendar, you would use recurrence. That way you wouldn't have to enter it 3 times. The problem you'll have running into that, though, is if it's over the weekend, like if it's a Thursday, Friday, Monday, I don't think there's a way to do Thursday, Friday, Monday. It would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It would just go all in consecutive order. So you might have to do Thursday, Friday, and then just add Monday. But typically you wouldn't be using that. Registration, you're not going to use. Location, put in where it is. If it's an obvious place like Mountain Indian Middle School or a school, you could put that there. If it's not, then you might want to include the address. It just depends. Just use your common sense. Contact, you can put a contact name, email. Now here's how you post it to the district calendar. And this doesn't just work for the district calendar. For those of you putting events on the calendar, like sometimes you might have an event at an elementary school, but it's a Coral Street event, but it's actually happening at Mountain Indian Middle School, right? So this is where you kind of just use your sense to say, okay, well, I'm making this event. I know Nabil told me that he wants them all on the district calendar, right? New event, PTO, and post to calendars. All right, so when I check this box, it says post to State College Area School District. That means post it to the State College Area School District calendar. So you always want to check that box. But you have other options. You can hit add collections, and then you can pick anywhere else. So if you're having an event that applies to all elementary schools, you can select all elementary, you can select all secondary. If it's a Radio Park event, but it's actually being held at Mountain Indian Middle School, you might want to put it on Radio Park, Mountain Indian Middle School, and the district. So just think about where your event is and who might be going somewhere to look for that event. So if somebody's like, oh, I know that it's at Mountain Indy, but what time is it? They would go to the Mountain Indy calendar probably and look, and if it's not there, then they might be confused. So it's just making it user-friendly. Yes?
Is access to those calendars restricted by what access you have?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, not everybody has access to the calendars. That's a building-to-building thing. Any other questions? You're all website experts? Anyway, that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you very much.